The second question tonight is about housing shortages and affordability. For many years, affordable housing and land has been a major concern for residents and businesses in the NT. Tardiness in response to the needs for affordable land and housing has seen property values escalate to one of the highest in the nation. With the resource boom on its way, more housing and land will be needed to cater for the 80,000 extra workers the government has estimated will be needed to cover the employment demand. And just to clarify again, these are territory-wide questions, and this is as a result of a business survey. So the question is, what plans has your party made to address the current and future needs of affordable housing? As we started at that end of the table with the first question, we'll now start back with this end. Adam, you're taking this one?
Thank you, Ron.
Adam Finlay is standing for Labor in Araloo. You can take it away.
Thank you. Land release under this government has been much quicker than any previous CLP government. And every new development has a minimum of 15% of its land is reserved for affordable housing. This government has introduced and expanded on the following programs to help Territorians get off that rental merry-go-round. The first homeowner grant, $7,000 to eligible people. Stamp duty for first owner concession, which is a saving of up to $26,000, and that's not means tested. The senior pensioner and carer concession for people over 60 years of age who hold the NT pensioner and carer concession card can get up to $8,500 off the stamp duty payable. The principal price of residence is another $3,500 potentially off the stamp duty for Territorians. The build bonus, a $10,000 grant to home buyer investors, including companies and trustees. The build bonus is also available in conjunction with the first homeowner grant, which can grant up to $17,000 for potential first home builders. The My New Home is the latest scheme released by this government, and what a great scheme it is. And I know it's been recently it's been misunderstood in the media by what it's about. And the first point I want to make is that it's no deposit loans up to $750,000. So that can be any amount up to $750,000, and I would encourage anybody who's interested in getting off the rental merry-go-round to actually go and have a look at the webpage and have a look at this scheme, because it is really good. No lender's mortgage insurance, and obviously it's subject to normal lending criteria with the TIA. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Adam Finlay. Let's move on now to Ken Lightner, who's standing with First Nations.
Sure, yes.
Sure. Okay, you can take it away.
Okay, thank you. Acknowledge the traditional owners and also the visitors that came and developed this country. Therefore, we have dual heritage, dual responsibility towards each other in regards to shaping the future, and that's where we're coming from. It's about how do we go and embrace the future. With housing shortage, we want to be able to apply Section 19 of the Land Rights Act, 77A of the Land Rights Act, open it up, but in exchange, do a house exchange. So therefore, people that are renting housing commission home currently, give it to them. We'll open up other areas for development that'll make new stocks. Come on, we've got to be able to sort of share this economy, but we'll be able to participate openly in it as well. Then everyone's at an equal footing. Then we don't have petty crimes. We've got to be able to lift the standard, and it's up to us as a community to do that. But let's make the standard economically as well. Otherwise, we've got 50% of the land mass that's Aboriginal land, if you look at the Northern Territory map. But we can't do anything with it. But we want to be able to do something with it by opening it up so we can then enjoy living in this country, but also participating economically, but also having joint business and partnership in using the land in the way that we want to use it together. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Colin Fiffy, standing for voting as an independent. Do you want is it time to ask the question again for the rest of the panel? Okay, all right, we can go back to that if we need to. Colin, you can go.
Thanks. To help people afford the housing, I believe, we need to look at providing more education subsidies and business grants. This will help people increase their family income, and their property will become more affordable due to their higher income as a result of opening a business or as a result of furthering their education and bettering their career. We need to release more land for development around Alice Springs, especially on the northern side of the McDonnell Ranges. The first home owners grant should be increased to $14,000. This will help provide more incentive for people to save for and purchase their first home. This will also help local construction companies keep their doors open. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Phil Walcott, I'll just ask the question again, is what plans has your party made to address the current and future needs of affordable housing?
What party?
When you're ready.
What party?
When you're ready.
These questions are a little bit dodgy, I'm here to tell you, but anyway. Okay, With regard to town planning, we need to get more resources in and around that. Look at some creative ways to actually develop up properties in and around town. It's not all about housing, it's about accommodation. People need to have somewhere to stay and somewhere to live. So a variety of accommodation styles in and around Alice Springs is something that we need to look at. In line with what Ken was saying, if we're all got to throw in some money and resources, then it's really important that a lot of the Aboriginal corporations do that as well. It's not always about government. If we as a whole community are going to build and thrive and grow, we all have to contribute at various levels. So that requires industry, government, commerce, people, all throwing in something around that idea around housing. So, you know, some people might throw a tent up in their backyard and accommodate a few people. But developing hostel-style accommodation. Improve the partnerships between industry, government and the land councils. People need places to stay rather than necessarily having a house. Reduce the bureaucracy and red tape, paperwork required to build. It is just onerous. As any builder, developer, a person involved in that industry will tell you, the rules and regulations become really quite crazy. We need to reduce that. Tax breaks and salary sacrifice options and the CBD height increase.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, Robin Lamley, standing for the CLP in Araluen, sitting member. You can take it away.
Good evening, everyone. You'll have to excuse my voice. We acknowledge that housing is a critical area of responsibility for all levels of government, and certainly a CLP government would embrace the opportunity to try and reduce, for example, homelessness. It's National Homelessness Week this week. We acknowledge that we've got the highest rate of homelessness in Australia, and we would definitely support continuing efforts to address homelessness in the Northern Territory. Public housing in the Northern Territory has been managed quite tardily, we believe. For example, in Araluen, there's at least 24 single units that have been vacant for at least 2 years. We would address that. We don't think that it's acceptable to have any public housing empty for more than 6 months, given the need for maintenance and ongoing redevelopment. In terms of land release, we think that land release is critical to the economic development, particularly of a town like Alice Springs. This government, the Labor government, has been extremely slack in how they've managed land release in Alice Springs. For one 12-month period in the last 10 years, not one block of land was released for sale in Alice Springs, which means that the building industry suffered. There's a large percentage of people in Alice Springs who are employed by the building industry and building-related industries. Once the building industry suffers, we all suffer. So we are definitely committed to affordable housing initiatives in the Northern Territory, and particularly Alice Springs.
Thank you, Robin. Moving to the Greens now, and Barbara Shaw.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to acknowledge my people, the Mbandara people of Alice Springs, and one of them is sitting right up there, Elaine. With housing and homelessness, it's right across the country, not just here in Alice Springs. Housing is a human right for everyone. The Greens believe that all Territorians should have access to affordable, safe, sustainable and cultural appropriate housing. Access to the housing should be free from discrimination, and people with social or special housing needs should be housed with adequate support. The Greens will develop and fund a plan to progressively provide for public and low-income earners or housing stocks to meet immediate demand on the cater for future population, especially with Alice Springs that are growing at a greater rate. We will investigate solutions between Aboriginal organisations, government to tackle Aboriginal homelessness, as well as in the private and public sector. Increase provisions on emergency accommodation and transitional housing. Promote community participation in well-defined homelessness accommodation schemes through financial incentives and rebates. And promote policies to reduce the cost of housing construction costs due to skill shortages.
very much.